Okay, I wanted to start this off with the series that I started on YouTube yesterday. And the series was how I thought I was ugly all my life, damn near. Okay, first off, when I told the story about when I was in the fifth grade, it didn't just stop there. No, it didn't stop there. Even after the fifth grade, people were still saying stuff. Only because I didn't look like everybody else. My nose was not the same size as everybody else. My lips was not the same size as everybody else. Neither was I. I was always taller than my class. I was always bigger and more developed than my class. Which it didn't bother me because it was just, I was a kid. And when I continue to tell these stories, I don't want anybody's feelings hurt. A lot of people left me a lot of messages yesterday, and I appreciate each and every one of them. But truth is just truth. These things went on because as I grew older, I started developing. I started still not into myself as much as I should have been as a child. But I was a kid. I always enjoyed my life. As far as me being a kid, I always was into video games. All my friends back then was male. And they never made me or felt like I never felt like I was being judged by them. But maybe in the sixth grade, I want to say it was in the sixth grade. The same little group of girls, we all went to the same school. We all, was friends or whatever the case would be. I'm going to say associates because friends don't treat friends like that. But this one particular time, the same girl was liking this guy. And we're gonna call him Law. She was messing, was liking this guy, but this guy was just my friend. Now keep in mind, everybody knows by now, we grew up poor. And I'm not ashamed of that. And that I'm not ashamed of because it made me humble. But anyway, at any rate, we was gonna go play kickball. And I didn't think that little girls at that age was liking boys, but this girl was liking him or whatever the case may be. He was my friend. Now, also, when we got the kickball group together, everybody was picking or whatever the case may be. I was picked second by the boys team. So in between each game, she would come over there like, Monica, can you say such and such to him? Monica, can you say such and such to him? And this, that, and the third. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but I don't even understand why. Why can't you go and talk to him yourself? But I didn't think nothing of it because we was kids playing kickball. And so the same little girl, I would never forget the same little girl. Well, because one of the other little girls going to her and telling her, I don't think Monica is saying anything to him about you. She immediately thought that I was jealous or that I wanted to date this guy. Now, keep in mind, this boy didn't even live in our damn neighborhood. He came all the way from his side of town to come on our side of town to spend the night with his cousin that stayed in our neighborhood, but he wasn't from our neighborhood. So we all playing for kickball or whatever. She waits until we all sit down and we all exhausted or whatever the case may be. She was like, oh, did you know that Monica had roaches in her house? Did you know that Monica wears Monique's hand-me-down clothes? Did you know those was the same shoes Monica wore last year? Now, keep in mind, we outside in front of like 15 kids. And this is what she says. The boy turns to her and say, well, why is you saying that? And I could have swore that you and Monica was friends. She was like, because Monica's ugly. Look at Monica. Monica's ugly. She was like, Monica got big old eyes, and Monica got a big nose, and Monica got a big mouth. And she's taller than everybody. So I don't even know why you trying to even be friends with her. This offended the boy. It offended him to the point that he got so frustrated, he actually took the ball and slammed it on the floor, and so it bounced and it went in the street. When it bounced and went in the street, she was like, I don't know why he acting like that or whatever the case would be. I got Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. Monica only got on Lee jeans. And her mama got them jeans from Woodworth's. And at the time, my mom did get the jeans from Woodworth. She did. And half of our clothes came from the Goodwill. They did. That was never no question. But for her to say that I had roaches and that my house was dirty and that I was wearing Monique's old clothes and the shoes that I had on and stuff like this, it gave me a complex. This is complex number 2, same girl. So now I'm not only am I embarrassed, but my feelings is hurt. My feelings is so hurt that I just took off running. And I can remember running all the way from the field, all the way to my mom's house. And I just ran in the house and just closed the door. But keep in mind, see, my mom's house was damn near new when we moved in it. We didn't have a roach in sight. But because she had a big mouth and she thought that this was cute, she continuously made up stuff and she continuously pointed out my flaws in front of people because that's what she did. She didn't mind that it was hurting my feelings, and she didn't mind that it was bothering me. She didn't mind that I would grow up to be as old as I am and still have a complex about it because she didn't give a damn. Which at the time I shouldn't have gave a damn, but by me being a kid and being traumatized the way I was, because keep in mind, this was around the same time that my own cousin. Now, this was around the same time that my cousin got on the football team, the varsity football team. Remember, I told you that story. And his friend asked him, was we really cousins? And he denied it. And he didn't just deny it, he denied it proudly. But then when he heard that when he seen that I heard him, he kind of tried to come back because I think he thought I was going to tell my mom and she was going to tell his mom. But I never did bring it up. To this day, I never brought it up because it wasn't that important to me because I would never have done him that way. But this is around that time. Well, she decided to keep even though I had went home, I was told the very next day that she had kept on with the story and kept on with the story. And kids back then, most they're going to do is, ooh, and this kind of shit. But I didn't want to be bothered with that because 90% of the people that was out there supposedly was my friends, but they never was. But when I ran home and ran in my house, and my mom asked me what had went on, I told her. And my mom turned to me and she said, Monica, she said, I tried to explain to you a while back that you look like your dad. You don't look like me. You look like your dad. And because you look like your dad, that's the reason why they're saying that. I'm not saying that your dad is ugly. All I'm saying is that your dad has a different look. I would have thought my mom would have kind of cushioned the fall, but my mom didn't. My mom snatched the rug from right underneath me and confirmed what these kids had been saying. So not only did I have these kids on me, I had my mom on me. And Monique was trying to save me, but it wasn't too much that she could have done because I was completely convinced that I was ugly. When I say completely convinced that I was ugly, it made me kind of shelter my feelings, and shelter myself after that. That's when I started pushing back away from big crowds of people, and I started mainly maintaining to be not by myself, but kind of protective of my feelings. And this is what caused that. Even though back then you would think that kids wouldn't be as cruel as they are. Kids is cruel nowadays. They are cruel nowadays. But nevertheless, this is how I felt back in the 7th grade. Now, when I started going to the 8th grade, my body was changing, my boobs and stuff like this, and my hips was rounding out and stuff like this. I still had it in the back of my mind how I felt when this girl was saying this to me. Well, maybe around about, I don't know, was it the 8th grade? I think it was the 8th grade when an older boy approached me about something. Okay, I was friends with some of the kids down the street. Well, the kids down the street had an older brother. His name was Quentin. All these girls in my neighborhood loved this boy, and they thought he was super great. Me, on the other hand, I was friends with his brother. We was going to play video games or outside shooting hoops or whatever the fuck we was doing at that time. But this is what we was doing. Well, he had heard about what had happened at the kickball field. And he had heard what had happened at the kickball field. But also his brother had been telling him, these kids is teasing her. These kids is doing this. These kids is doing that. And he was I don't like how it's making her feel because she is my friend. Well, this particular day, we were sitting on his porch and was bouncing the basketball on the step. His brother came home and he sat in between us. And he's like, Monica, he said, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, yeah. He was like, Monica, he said, when you see people that constantly put other people down. He said it's not them. It's not you. It's them. He was like, no, you may not be light skinned and you may not be skinny and you may not be as attractive as they would like for you to be. He was like, but Monica, he was like, until you stand up for yourself, they're gonna continue to say the same shit. And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you think I should do? He said, start with the girl that started the initial rumor about you. And I told him, I said, well, what do you want me to say to her? He said, no, it's not what I want you to say to her. It's what you should say to her. So that whole summer, I had amped myself up, ready to let her ass have it when I saw her the first day of school. Because keep in mind, my mom had been like buying school clothes from the end of school clothes, from when the school ended that summer until school started. My mom was buying clothes for us and stuff like this. And my mom was like, Jerry curls, we had Jerry curls or whatever the case may be. So everybody got a brand new curl and stuff for school and stuff like this. So the first day of school started. We got on the bus, and you know how everybody got their new clothes on and stuff like this. The girl didn't ride my bus anymore. She rode a different bus. So when we got to the class, the same three little boys that we started out with, which was John, Dale, and Rob, we all was in the same class again. So we all walk in the classroom, and she had already gathered the other little girls to the back of the classroom to watch me walk in. Now, when she watched me walk in, I don't know, was she shocked about what she saw or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, when I walked in, I was ready, okay? I was ready. I had my book bag. It was ready. My hair was combed. It was going down. Because, sister, I was going to let your ass have it today. Well, I marched my behind dead in that classroom, and I slammed that book bag down. And the first thing came out of her mouth was, Monica finally took a bath, and Monica this, and Monica that, and Monica this. I turned to her. I said, bitch, I don't know why it is that you keep fucking with me, and this is not, keep in mind, I got suspended on like the first day, but it was okay. It was worth it. I got an ass kicking. It was worth it, but I let her ass have it. I told her, I said, bitch, I don't know what it is about you that you keep fucking with me. I said, but you gonna stop. And you stay in a house with 15 motherfuckers with a goddamn sheet up against your window. I said, when you get that sheet off of your goddamn window, then you say something else about me. I said, but until you get that sheet, and it was a Barney sheet. It was a Barney, the purple dinosaur sheet in her living room, on her living room window. And you got so much to say about me, but your mama still had this sheet hanging up to her fucking window. When you get this sheet off your window, then you say something to me. Other than that, you keep it pushing. They escorted me down, me and her. She started crying. They escorted us down to the principal's office. Now, keep in mind, I got suspended for a day. I did. But it was so worth it. I got in trouble because I got suspended on the first day. But my mom couldn't understand why in the hell would I choose to pick a fight. I didn't pick a fight with her. She had picked a fight with me all my childhood life at school. She consistently kept calling me dirty, kept calling me ugly, kept saying all this and that and the other, knowing damn well none of it was true. But because she didn't have nothing else better to do and she wanted attention on herself, so she had to pick anything and anybody. I think she thought I was weak because I was never a vocal person. I was never loud. And when I let her ass have it, I let her ass have it. To the point her mother had to end up coming to the school and pick her up because she wouldn't stop crying about this sheet up against her window. To the point that when the kids was riding past her house from that point on, they would call her the sheet girl because the sheet was still on her window. I guess she had complained to her mother long enough and the sheet came down. Now, at the end of the day, I think that because she had embedded that in my mind about I was ugly and all this, she left me alone. And I went back and I talked to Quentin. I went to the house. I ran up on his porch and I knocked on his door. And I asked him, I said, can you come outside for a minute? And he was like, Miss Monica, what do you want? Like that. And when I say he was older, by me being in the 7th grade, he was like like in the 12th grade or some shit like this. But I asked him to come outside because I wanted to talk to him about what had happened that day at school. When he came out on the porch, he was like, Miss Monica, what do you want, honey? He was like, didn't we have this talk before? And I told him exactly what I had said to the girl. And I told him that I had got suspended. And I told him I had got my ass kicked from here to Timbuktu and back by Mary King because I know go get suspended for a day. Okay, but when I told him what had happened, I told him what he said, what I had said to the girl, he was like, Monica, he said, you should have been said that to her. He was like, it's not that she was picking, she was trying to murder your whole self-esteem. And he said, and you let her. He said, not only did you let her, he said, but you allowed her into your headspace. And I never understood that. And that stuck with me to this day. And when I say that I did let her in my headspace, I did. When I said, when she assassinated my character and she made me feel lower than low, I did that. But she wasn't the only one. She was not the only one, because until I started standing up for myself and actually having a voice about who I was and what I was, people was like walking all over me like I was a welcome mat. So I think I wanted to tell this particular series, and I got like 2 more stories that's about kind of sort of about what I've been talking about this ugly shit. I think I wanted to tell this story to start this series because people don't know how hard words are to people until they actually listen to them. People may not admit that my house is clean. People may not admit to being verbally abused by kids or getting a complex or being called ugly or anything like this. But I'm open with my shit. I would rather y'all know exactly what I had to go through when I had to go through it. So it wasn't that I'm telling y'all this to hurt nobody's feelings. But stories like this need to be told. Because these are the same people that you see every day. I had to put my hair scarf back on. That you see every day that now they speak. But words as a kid changes how you think and what you think when you're an adult. And I think that stuck with me because I am so particular about my hair, my nails, and what I wear. And so I think it's making me feel a little better when I show y'all what I have on, or I show y'all when I got clothes on. Because I normally get on here with this on, or this sweater, or something else with the tag hanging out like I did yesterday. I don't give a shit. But it changes how you feel about yourself, I think. I'm not sure. I think it does. So I think I feel more better telling y'all, talking about it openly and telling y'all exactly how I felt back then. Because it was a lot. It was a lot to be always judged between Monique and Margaret. And then here it comes our Monica. Or Monica's tall. Or they thought Monica should have the third friend. Or Monica should... It was a lot to unpack. And this, I think, changed the dynamics into why I'm so particular about myself. Now, granted... You know, you know what I'm saying? I'm a bitch a little bit, but not a whole lot. But I'm working on myself as far as like me not being so mean and quick tempered. But yeah, I appreciate y'all watching this story. And I think I just wanted to come and kind of clarify why these things was happening and why I thought so less of myself. So I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see y'all in my next story. Bye.